So without wasting any more time, let's look at part 2, digitalization of India. Basically, digitalization of the world that is happening. That is theme number 2. Now, let's just understand the main idea first. Okay, digitization is the process of adapting systems and using computers and the internet in order to improve efficiency. I'm pretty sure all of us already know that we have now uh, become tech dependent. Not just tech dependent, technology is part of our life now. It's actually interrelated. Phones, computers, internet, all of it, basically human life is going all digital. Okay, the world is going digital, and that is the main idea. It's very simple. We all have done it in our lives, especially those who are listening on this or watching this particular class. I'm sure as we have grown up, we have digitized our lives as well. We've gone from physical documents to digital documents. I have seen now demat account being used, made compulsory for stocks. Now the same thing is happening for bank accounts. Our way of communicating is now completely on electronic medium. We don't send physical mails that much, and so on and so forth. There is just huge shift towards digital that is happening, and that is the main idea behind today's theme. We are going to look at what is happening currently in the world, where is the world going, what are the primary key triggers of this digitalization in India, and what are the key sectors that you can look into as a long-term investors to invest in, because these mega themes, they are going to create the winds and the opportunity, and the good players in that particular field which will benefit from it are going to make the most money out of it, and as investor we need to capture them. Okay, so let us start first with Mr. Jack Ma. He's the founder of Alibaba. I'm sure all of you know what Alibaba.com is, but he says today if you are not connected to any, today if you are not connecting any country, or if you don't let your people connect to the internet, it is worse than last century not letting them connect to electricity. And I personally believe in this thought that internet today is as good as electricity couple of years back. It is that important, just like water supply, just like uh, electricity that you need. We need internet today. It is that important in today's lives. And the key facts that you need to understand about our country, okay, these are some staggering numbers that I'm going to put forth in front of you. India to have 1 billion smartphone users by 2026. In just 3 more years we're going to have at least a billion smartphone users. Okay, right now we are at I'm approximately 700 million, and it will reach a billion very very soon. And remember this, those are going to be repeatable customers, so keep that number in mind. Second, India is also going to be the second largest manufacturers of the smartphone in the next 5 years. There's already Foxconn coming in. There is talks of Tata getting into manufacturing of various things related to smartphones. This Dixon Technology is already providing manufacturing facilities. Our government is pushing manufacturing to the max. Okay, so a big part of those is electronics manufacturing and the smartphones and tablet manufacturing as well. So we are well on our way, and of course there are 400 billion smartphones would be sold by 2026. That is across the world. Okay, so India is not only just home ground users, but we are also going to be manufacturers, and because globally there will be so many phones being sold, a huge chunk of it is going to come from our country. Just keep those numbers in mind. Okay, now apart from smartphone users that we have a huge database of, you need to understand the number of internet users. Okay, this is including mobile and home connection. US has only 307 million people connected to the internet. China has about 1,000. So of course their technology and develop, because their government forced enforcement, a lot of things that they do is all digital economy based, especially for regular people. So they have the maximum number of users, and India is at 658. Most likely again because we are the most populous country in the world, almost about to become the #1 populated country in the world. 658 is still huge number of active internet users, but we still have a lot of way to go. Okay, if we have 1 billion smartphone users, then we'll definitely have minimum 1 billion internet users as well, and give or take a few more with their home broadband connection. Okay, so both areas India is now dominating as far as internet usage is concerned, smartphone usage is concerned. And but the reality is 53.3% of Indians do not have access to the internet. Okay, in spite of having these big numbers, we have, well, a slightly more than half of population still not on the internet. Okay, so this number is going to open up your mind to see how much possibility is there, how much room is there for this entire field of digitalization or internet to grow in India. So there is huge scope. Okay, half of population will be coming to internet as well very soon. Now here's a quick list of countries. Okay, India only 53% population unconnected. China has got less than 28%, less than 30% people who don't have internet. Look at Pakistan. Pakistan has got higher number. Bangladesh has got higher number. Ethiopia. These are all underdeveloped countries. India is none, except for China. I would say India is not even comparable to any other country. Maybe Brazil. Again, Brazil is also less than 18%. So we are going to see a trend where very few number of Indians will not have internet, and there are some big drivers taking place to make sure Indians come on the internet, and there are some big companies that are going to make some good cash from this onboarding of a lot of people on the internet. Okay, so not only just internet usage, what is the kind of consumption, the data that is being consumed around the world. On an average, there is a mobile user, single mobile user uses 14 GB of data per month, and this is going to come in handy in future because we're going to look at this is going to become a problem very soon. And whenever there's a problem, the businesses that can solve those problems make money. Okay, especially when there is a large scale problem coming up, and then there's a business that is running on large scale which can solve that problem, makes large scale profits as well. Okay, so you have to, as an investor, look at the problems that are being created or look at the challenges. Don't complain, because as individuals we might complain about it, but as businessmen you can, or even investors for that matter, you can look at it as an opportunity to solve a problem and create money out of it. Okay, so the forecast is, this is 14 GB right now. By 2027, average usage would be 41 GB per smartphone user per month globally. Okay, world over. So imagine the amount of data storage and data that is going to be required. So in the end, this kind of information, keep this in mind as well, because at the end we're going to have some serious sectors that we can zero in on based on this information. Now let us see the key growth drivers. Okay, I want to keep this very short and impactful, so I'm going to go through them really quick. If you have any question or doubt, of course, please feel free to put in the chat box. So now, what are the growth drivers that are pushing the force of Indians getting on the internet or everybody digitalizing their lives? So the first key driver is government's push. Government is pushing hard to make sure that they are able to get everybody online, and there are many benefits of it. We'll see that in a upcoming slide as well. And the big motivation for government is that the more people they have on internet, the more they can govern easily and better. Then there's big tech spending. That means big companies like Google, Facebook, all of these, even Amazon for that matter, are coming up in India and spending billions of dollars investing in India, because they know it is going to be one of the largest markets. It already is a huge market for them, but they see the potential themselves. So what are they doing? They're making sure they're spending money. For example, you might have seen that Google was working with railways to create internet on platforms. So to provide internet on platforms, Google Wire or Google Rail Wire, something like that. I had used it, so you could see that these people, and again Google is also pushed a lot of UPI in the country as well. So they are also, apart from government, these big companies are also spending in India to drive the internet usage up. or rather make it more accessible to people. Then of course, one thing that you need to understand is that the smartphone, the device itself, millions of dollars have been spent to make the smartphone addictive. Okay, so it becomes almost impossible not to live your life. Once you start using a smartphone, it is almost like having an addiction. So that is a big driver. Once a person starts using smartphone, then there's no looking back. And of course, cheap data. So I will just elaborate these through few points through some of the key pieces of information. First is the big push, 9 pillars of digital India. This is an initiative taken by government of India to get India digitally empowered, to make sure that the government is able to get people the maximum benefits and govern them better through usage of internet. So they're going to create broadband highways, okay, broadband highways, then universal access to mobile connectivity. This is government's plan, and they are already doing a lot of work around it. It's just that we don't see it, and it is a slow process. So people have a doubt that whether this is happening or not, but it is already happening. We all know how internet speeds have changed over the last few years, how overall infrastructure of our country has changed. It's just that the change is taking place slowly and not specifically in your area maybe, but that doesn't mean the change is not taking place. Okay, public internet access programs, then they have e-governance, so that all the documentation, no more standing in queues, they want to get rid of all of that. They make sure that things and papers are getting forwarded fast. uh, I think Pratik had a recent experience where a lot of registration, for a simple registration, got done very quickly because of online. I personally use DigiLocker as well. So a lot of governance, even for that matter, the COVID vaccine, a lot of that was paperless. You could get the app and well get your certificate online itself rather than standing in a queue, which was good. And e-Kranti is electronic delivery of government services. Then they have information for all, and electronics manufacturing is going to get a huge push because they want to create employment as well. It is going to be good for economy because we can then export these items, and it is going to be good for our country because people will have jobs. Okay, and IT for jobs as well is another additional aspect that they are looking for. Both manufacturing and information technology, government is pushing hard so that they can create more employment. Okay, so all of this is part of government's agenda to make sure we all are on board with the internet, and lot of work is being going on. For example, of course, sorry, I forgot to mention early harvest programs. This is specially directed towards the farming community, but we won't discuss much of that because right now we want to stay focused on the digitization of India. So there is a big project called the Bharat Net project. Just check out the salient features of it. This is just an example of what kind of work is already being done. There is over 5.6 lakh kilometers of optical fiber being laid in our country. Total of 1,72,361 GPs and OFCs. Okay, so GPs and OFCs is something which you can quickly figure out on a Google search. Let me just first figure it out myself. Okay, and I know the satellite, I think it's most likely global positioning, but I want to be sure. Yeah, it's a global positioning system, which is again related to, okay, and OFC is optical fiber cable. Okay, OFC. And now there's 27,582 crores has been already dispersed and utilized in BharatNet project, and Wi-Fi hotspots have been installed at almost 1,04,288 GPs. Okay, and 213,000, wow, 2,13,844 home broadband connections have been provided. And there is dark fiber, which again is beyond the concept of me to explain, but there is a lot of internet bandwidth that has been released under BharatNet project, a very interesting project for you guys to check out. The idea is this is what the government is doing to lay the infrastructure. There's a lot of spending being done to get people on the internet, especially villages. Okay, not just the urban places, because we already have internet in urban areas. It's the villages that are being connected, which is going to be the next wave of growth as far as India is concerned. Beyond tier 2, we have villages. 60% of India is under village area. Okay, now apart from this, not just government and BharatNet project, but there are two big triggers that change the face of India as far as getting people on the internet is concerned, or rather speedboarding them. First was in 2016 when Jio got launched. It made data very, very cheap. It gave free data, and there was basically a disruption in the industry. But that created a lot of people, that was responsible for getting a lot of people onto the internet, on the mobile internet, or rather smartphone. Okay, so this was a big move. Of course, it disrupted the industry, and now there are so many new people on the internet. Finally they got a taste of it for free, and of course they've started charging now, so things are different. But that not all of them have immediately abandoned their phone. Most of them might have, but some of them have stayed back, and that trend will continue to grow. And COVID-19 in 2020, when the lockdown happened, we all have done this. The amount of usage of internet before COVID and after COVID just skyrocketed. Whatever you were using internet for before, after COVID, it basically went 3 times or 4 times, because now work from home started. Then of course we were entertaining ourselves, we were ordering things. Everybody had to use internet to get most of the services done. Kids had to go to school on their mobile phones, laptops and tablets. So internet had become a prevalent thing. And if let's say if you're a parent of a child, if there was no internet, he would not get education. So they had to get the internet connection at their homes at the earliest. So COVID-19 is a big trigger that revolutionized, I would say, 5 years worth of development. 5 to, I would say, 7 years worth of onboarding happened in just that 2 years, because of those special conditions created. So again, that was the pandemic was not a very positive thing that happened, but there was a positive side effect of it, that people got more well aware of internet and got on board into the internet as well. And of course, this is a theme that I always follow: legal and addictive. Okay, any business that sells any substance that is legal and addictive is one of the best businesses to invest in. Okay, if you go back to the history of Coca-Cola, Warren Buffett's one of the biggest investments, it's a legal and addictive substance, because it's got caffeine. Same thing goes for companies that are selling alcohol, and even cigarette companies. So ITC is another example. Why legal and addictive works is because once you have a customer in, then you don't have to continue to spend on the customer. The acquisition is the only part that you have to take care of, because the customer will come back to you again and again and again. That is the idea behind addiction, because people get dependent on it and there is no logic. It's just that once a person is used to or habituated to that, they will continue to use and consume, and that becomes your lifetime asset. Any customer who starts using a product becomes your lifetime cash machine. Okay, so I really like legal and addictive businesses as an investor personally. Of course, morally, I would say it's a good thing or a bad thing, but as an investor, it's an advantage. So in fact, latest addition to Warren Buffett's portfolio was Apple. They make smartphones, and smartphones are legal and addictive. Why are they addictive? Because of course there's a lot of spending that has been done, but first and foremost, the biggest reason of smartphone addiction is the social media apps. Those apps have made sure that people stay hooked onto it. They understand human psychology really, really well. Then of course there's a lot of entertainment. You have entertainment in your pocket, and every time you don't want to work, what you want to do is entertain yourselves. Human beings love entertainment. In fact, we are addicted to entertainment, you can easily say that. And on mobile phone you get quick and fast entertainment at your fingertips. Then of course, if health related, lot of things, trackers, your weight management apps, various videos that you can watch. So a lot of health related things can also be your phone can be utilized to uh, get health related information and even tools. And of course, with relationship these days, people are dating online, they are also finding matches online. Huge part of our human existence is finding relationships, right? And smartphones provide you again the same thing right in your pocket. And one of the other bigger triggers is wealth. The smartphone has created an opportunity to create income streams. Not only we are able to do our bank transactions, buy and sell stuff, we can also sell our stuff and start our own business. You might be using Zerodha or any other app like Upstocks to buy and sell stocks right now. That is happening on the smartphone itself. Okay, a lot of people, including myself, have created their entire digital training programs on the smartphone itself. Digital marketing is now huge. So all of that combined together makes cell phone a powerful, compelling tool for human beings, which is designed to get them hooked. There is a lot of scientific research being done to make sure that you are stuck to your phone looking like this. Okay, and of course the ones who are able to harness this power, okay, once who are able to harness this power either as a mobile user or as an investor, is where the money will go. Okay, wherever your attention is, the money goes there. So legal addictive smartphones automatically creating a trend for us to keep getting onto the internet. And not to mention, India has a special advantage when it comes to cheap internet. Okay, look at the price charts. I've compared it to a couple of countries. There are a lot of other countries, and of course there are countries which have cheaper internet than India, but those are smaller countries, very small countries. India, you need to understand the size of our economy is huge, and we are again second largest in population in the world, and our land mass is also huge. So you have to consider all of that before comparing to other countries. Brazil has got about 70 cents per GB. Then UK has got about again 80 cents, and China has got 0.41. Again, China is also not cheaper than India as far as we would think that, and I had thought that, but that's not the case. India is only at 17 cents per GB, which is probably one of the cheapest across the globe. I think it's the fifth cheapest in the world. And compare that to a developed country like US or even UK. US has got the most expensive data plan. It's $5.62 per GB. Really, really expensive. And that's why a lot of outsourcing happens in India, because we have cheap internet. We are able to provide all of that services at a very, very low cost. Okay, and thanks to all the competition that has been happening in the telecom sector, and then of course the data providers including Airtel, Jio, and other players that have been coming in, the price in Indian market for data has always been super cheap. It is more expensive than previous times, but it is very, very cheap, and this is not going to suddenly rise overnight. It's going to take a while, and that is going to drive more and more people, because it's cheaper and easily available. People are going to use more and more internet in India for sure. In fact, I would say other people from other countries will come just for cheap internet. If their business is running on purely on internet, then India becomes a very nice place for them to come and continue their business. Okay, now before we get into the sectors, I'm going to quickly run you through some news screenshots to give you an idea of what's happening around the Indian subcontinent as far as internet is concerned. So look at this. First of all, Supreme Court has made internet a fundamental right. This is around December 2021. It is part of our fundamental right to have access to internet. A big, big play from the government and to the population as well. So keep that in mind. This was again interesting. That's why I had to mention. Then these are two quick pieces of news from Mint. Reliance Jio launches 5G in 100 cities. Airtel's 5G customer base above 1 million. We are already going into 5G from 4G, and they are pushing hard into the 5G market. Now the next phase of faster internet is coming in. And Indian telecom industry to grow by 12.5 billion every 3 years. This is a case study by Deloitte, which is a big firm which does all these analysis So $12.5 billion every 3 years. That is how Indian telecom industry is going to grow. So huge growth coming ahead. Then Google pours 1 billion into India's second largest phone operator, and it had already invested Google invested 700 million to buy 1.28% stake in Bharti Airtel, and Google had already invested 4.5 billion in Ambani's digital unit, which is Jio. Okay, so Google is basically pumping in money into both the companies, and it's in the rounds of billions of dollars. And not to mention, Facebook is not behind as well. Facebook also invested 5.7 billion in the Indian internet giant Reliance Jio. Okay, so Facebook, Google are pushing hard to get India on the internet and make sure that they have the best available facilities. Okay, so this was just few key triggers. I think the idea is very clear in all of your heads. We've realized what is the opportunity, what is the trigger. Now we are going to get into the main crux of this event. Let us just get into the sectors that are going to benefit from the upcoming surge of internet users in India. Okay, so now as investors, you have two options. First, you can straight away invest across the value chain. Okay, what is the value chain of mobile internet, mobile users in India or internet users? Obviously, it starts from manufacturing. So, manufacturing, which already the government is giving huge incentives to get into, not just handsets, but peripherals and components as well. So, your again, keep it in your notepad. Future investors, those who are studying fundamental analysis, make sure that you figure out what companies are into manufacturing of handsets, peripherals, that means headphones or extra cases, anything that is used to as an additional tool to the uh, mobile phone, like your chargers as well for that matter. And components would be the internal components that are required. So all the small parts, just like you have auto components, that is a huge sector that is already created in the Indian business industries. Similarly, smartphone components is also going to become huge, not just smartphone, because a lot of components are used in electronics as well. So definitely zeroing in on those companies which are related to this. The next 3, 5, even 10 years is going to be huge. Now, I believe smartphones are like Parle-G biscuits right now, which of course last for about 2 years, unlike Parle-G biscuit, which lasts for maybe a few minutes or maybe a week before you buy another packet. Because you have to continuously buy new handsets all the time. Technology is catching up fast. So manufacturers will always have their hands full, is my strong belief, and they'll keep on manufacturing and reproducing phones. Now, they might have a 2 year cycle between one person buying and selling buying a smartphone today and then buying it again. But these days, people have multiple handsets with them. I already use two handsets. I know a lot of people who use two handsets. So don't just think that only one person is going to have one phone. There are going to be two phones, and they'll continuously be upgraded as we go in the future. Then next is, of course, you cannot just use a mobile phone. A mobile phone without internet connection is like a gun without a bullet. So you have to look into companies that are providing the data or the internet. Now, not just internet providers, which is obvious, are companies like in India, we have about three companies that are listed. Think fourth, if I'm not wrong, BSNL is still listed. So we have BSNL, we have Vodafone Idea, we have Bharti Airtel and Jio, four companies. And now I think the bloodbath of telecom industry is getting over. They're getting more matured and consolidated. As you can see, recently there was a price hike as well. So unlike previous times when there was a lot of competition, and that's why I stayed away from the telecom sector, a lot of regulations as well. So right now, government is also pushing people to go on the internet, and telecom providers are also not in that crazy competitive state where they had to basically cut charges and not make any profit for their investors. So the next phase, as the internet becomes a utility just like electricity, the providers are also going to stabilize, and I think there's some
pocket of money to be made there as well. And in India, again, we have only two total four companies that you can choose from to invest in. Okay. Then we have, of course, cables, connecting cables. Infrastructure wise, we need a lot of towers and infrastructure. Even when I'm talking about cables, I'm also talking about optical cable fibers. And then companies that build the towers are also there. There's Bharti Infratel, which does that. There's Tejas Networks, which is creating networks, large scale networks, which are 5G enabled. So all of this, which is providing either the data or the structure to provide the data, that again is going to be huge. We have a 53% underserved population in this country. Just like we need roadways, we are going to need internet broadband highways as well. And BharatNet is another example where this work is going on. You can look into those companies to invest in as well. And once you have the handset manufactured and the setup there, but you also need the handset to be delivered, right? So logistic companies or marketing companies which take the mobile phone from manufacturer to the person who's using it. Okay, all of that could be your e-commerce companies, it could be the packaging companies, it could be the actual delivery people. Not to mention, there is I think Reddington is another company which just markets and distributes iPhones and smartphones in India. Those are the companies that you can look into. Again, none of the companies that I've mentioned right now is a direct advice to invest in. These are just the high probable names that comes across. So logistics also, you have a lot of players that are there, but in distribution marketing, there are few numbers that you can look into. There are only a couple of players that you can look into. And then, of course, we have the entire app store available to invest. Recently, they have not done good, but I totally believe that one of those apps, I think there are about 10-15 apps that are listed, namely Geo, Paytm, then you have PB FinTech as well. We have this one, Nika, that is listed. I call it a app because again, it is mobile user friendly and people are going to be using internet to uh, purchase from this. Then there's India Mart. Couple of companies that are there that are working in this sector. They've not done well because it's a complete different set of business and it is not based on cash flows but user based generation. Okay, so if at one point these companies are successfully able to generate a user base which is profitable, we will definitely see some killer multi-baggers from the apps as well. So high risk, high reward situation in apps is what my honest opinion is. So remember, there's huge risk because most apps are again easily replaceable if they have not done their job enough. And at the same time, they're at a very, very nascent stage. So you don't know what is going to happen. So that's one theme, that is investing across the value chain of a customer. But as Mr. Mukesh Ambani said, data is the new oil. All this usage of internet and apps and everybody getting on the internet is going to create huge amounts of data. And that is also where I would say the next 15-year opportunity is there, not just 10 years. Manufacturing and handsets and all, I would say is the next 5 to 7 year opportunity for us till the year 2030. And beyond that, data is going to become something of a phenomena that again we take for granted, but the time to invest in that is today. What do I mean by that? Now, data is going to explode like nobody's business because the more and more internet usage is there. Remember, I had mentioned we are using 14 GB on an average per person of data, and it's going to go to 41 GB per person as we go ahead in the future. All our devices are going to be connected to the internet. Right now, it's just the phone. Okay, earlier it was just computer, now it's the phone, and of course the watches are also coming in. Then there are a lot of people who are going to start connecting their homes to the internet, and then of course fridge, TV. TV is also connected now to the internet. People are not using direct cable connection; they are also using OTT platforms. So the amount of data that is going to be created is going to be exploding. We cannot even imagine how much data will be created over here. So in this explosion, who's going to win? First of all, a very basic is cloud computing because not everything can be stored in the physical space, right? So we are going to need cloud based space, those companies who are providing this service are going to make a lot of money for sure as we go ahead in the future. Then we need data centers to protect and keep all of this data. For example, CDSL is itself a data warehouse where it keeps data of investors, which I've spoken about. Again, not a direct investment advice, but just an example, right? So we're going to need not just data warehousing, companies that provide that infrastructure, companies who build that infrastructure, companies who maintain it. All of that comes under data warehousing, keeping your data safe in a location in a physical storage unit. And this is going to be as good as, well, real estate in the coming future, because there's going to be more and more data coming in. So we're going to need a huge amount of physical space, because cloud computers also use big servers, and general users, companies individually want places where they can keep their data. So data warehousing, another huge business. So this is a homework. Please go figure out what companies are listed in India and are providing at least infrastructure and mechanism for data warehousing. There's one Pune-based company, by the way, you guys can figure it out. It's a homework for you. One Pune-based company which provides one specific service to data warehousing as well. Okay, so that will zero down your search. Maybe that will make a little easier. Uh, Maybe that will make your search a little easier. Okay. Next, of course, all of that data is not going to be thrown away. There's going to be data analytics required. Recently, a couple of companies got relisted which do exactly that. Just information is not enough. You need to analyze it and process it in such a form that it can be utilized again and again. In fact, all the big firms like Google, Facebook, Amazon, they are actually data analytics company. What they do is they first get users on board, and then they see their patterns. Once they see the patterns and behavior, they serve ads or services based on their behavior. And that is why they have become so profitable. But now that is going to become prevalent. Every company in every industry is going to use data analytics as human beings are getting connected to the internet. So any company dealing in this field, research, absolutely uh, worth looking into. Of course, now there are a lot of firms who are doing it. Not all of them are listed. And there are big tech companies which are providing services to data analytics. So do look into it. I think big IT firms can be a place where you can look into as well. And finally, something which is going to be a result of data explosion and internet both. Okay, not exactly data explosion, because we're going to need more and more physical hardware. All of that is also going to create waste. And e-waste management, I think, is going to be a business of even further future, because all those laptops, mobile phones that we're using and throwing away because they're useless, after they can be used as paperweight, because we don't use papers anymore on our desks, right? So there's no use of those phones. They have to be thrown away. Tablets, laptops, computers. And where do they go? Because most of it is plastic and there are a lot of metals in it. All of that is not good for our environment. And at some point, government has to take steps to make sure that the processing, or rather say the recycling or the discarding of such electronic items will have more regulations on it. It has already happened in a lot of countries where you cannot just throw away your electronic waste. You have to submit it and process it in proper format. India will have to do it because the size of e-waste being created in this country is going to be way bigger than any other place. Okay, so anything that has got to do with e-waste management or recycling or processing can be a good firm for next 15-20 years worth. Okay, so I won't say right now, but it's a problem of the future that needs to be nipped in the bud today. As an investor, you have to invest aaj for kal, right? So those are my general ideas and sectors. You guys have a lot of homework to do now. Go right ahead, pick a couple of themes, bring out the names of the companies, and start looking at some multi-baggers of the future today itself.